So, let's talk about something fascinating, the psychology of people who genuinely love being alone. It's a trait that gets misunderstood all the time. So, we're going to dig into the real reason why some people find true peace and clarity in solitude. I mean, think about it. We're always pushed to be social, to be connected. But some people don't just put up with being alone, they actually prefer it. It kind of goes against what we think of as normal, right? So, what's really going on inside their heads? Well, the first thing we have to get straight is that our whole view of solitude is often based on a giant misconception. We see someone by themselves, and our brains just immediately start making assumptions. Okay, let's just tackle this misconception head on. Because, most of us are wired to want company, we tend to see solitude as a negative thing, something you should avoid. But that is definitely not the whole story. And just look at this. The gap between the myth and the reality is huge. We assume a person who's alone must be lonely or shy or maybe even hiding from the world. But for people who truly prefer solitude, the reality is they feel complete, they can think way more clearly, and they're genuinely just enjoying their own company. And that brings us to a really key point. This is not about being shy. A shy person might avoid a party because they're anxious or afraid, but that is a totally different motivation than what drives someone who loves solitude. Here's the crucial thing. It has nothing to do with a lack of social skills. It's that their mind is, well, fundamentally wired to process the world in a different way. So what does a different kind of mind even look like? Well, it really all comes down to how they handle everything going on around them, all that external stimuli, and where they get their mental energy from. This simple breakdown really shows the core benefit. For these folks, being alone isn't empty, it's actually really productive. It creates that mental space they need to actually think clearly, away from the constant chatter and noise of the outside world. And this leads us to the whole idea of a social battery. You've probably heard of it. For a lot of people, being social charges them up. But for those who love solitude, it is the exact opposite. And let's be super clear here. It's not that they dislike people at all. They just find that too much social time can be incredibly draining. So while you might feel energized after a big get-together, they might feel completely wiped out. Solitude is how they plug in and recharge to get back to feeling like themselves again. And hey, this isn't just a vibe or a feeling. There's actual science to back it up. Studies show a real, measurable difference. Their brains are literally calmer and less agitated when they're in a quiet, solitary environment. For them, it's just their natural state of peace. So, as we start to bring this all together, the picture becomes so much clearer, right? We're not talking about loneliness, which is that painful, unwanted feeling. We're talking about a peaceful and totally intentional way of being. And this is probably the most important distinction to make. Solitude is a choice. You are actively seeking time alone to find peace, to recharge. Loneliness, on the other hand, is an unwanted lack of connection. They are two completely, fundamentally different experiences. So here's the big takeaway. The next time you meet someone who wants to leave the party early or just says they need a quiet weekend to themselves, maybe remember what's really going on under the surface. It's not a rejection of you or of the world, far from it. It's simply that they've found a deep sense of contentment just being in their own company. You could even think of it as a sign of self-sufficiency, not sadness. And that leaves us with one last question. And this one's for you to think about. Where do you fall on this spectrum? Do you find your energy in a crowd, or do you find it in the quiet? It's a pretty fascinating thing to consider about yourself. Thanks for diving into this with us.